The damselfish family is largely a tropical and subtropical one. It includes approximately 250 different species found in the Indo-Pacific region and the Atlantic Ocean. One of the better-known species in the minds of the general public is the anemone fish or clownfish, specifically the species featured in Disney's Finding Nemo. Few divers who frequent Southern California waters are not aware of our most common species of damselfish. The bright orange Garibaldi, Hypsopops rubicundus, is California's state marine fish. It is well established in our waters, where it defends its feeding territory, ensuring its role in the ecological fabric of the kelp forest. The male mates with several of the ladies and then often aggressively attacks anyone or anything that comes too close to the nest it guards. The beautifully colored juveniles and subadults make very attractive photographic subjects. The other common damsel in our waters is the blacksmith, Chromis punctipinus. This species takes on a quite different strategy for survival. These fish school for protection against predators including cormorants, kelp bass, and yellowtail. They are present in very large numbers since they eat low on the food chain, picking the normally abundant plankton out of the water. At night they seek shelter in the nooks and crannies of the reefs, where they are frequently attacked by moray eels and the big bully bass. Their nests are built in sheltered areas, and the young are quite colorful with their purple and orange tones. Given their more southern affinities, it should not be too surprising that periods of warmer water in our region, coupled with north-flowing coastal currents, might bring new species to Southern California. Back in early September of 2012, I was down at the Casino Point Dive Park in Avalon on Santa Catalina Island. Reef Seeker's very own Ken Curtis came up from a dive and said he had spotted a small fish that looked like a baby Garibaldi, but with a different paint job. He sent me 2 pictures he had taken, and I tentatively identified it as a whitetail gregory or damsel, Stegastes leucorus. I contacted several California fish experts, including Dr. Dan Gottschall, Dr. Milton Love, and Dr. Giacomo Bernardi, who confirmed my identification. This was the first documented sighting of this species in California waters. I was able to dive and film this individual for several months. Due to its small size and rapid, somewhat erratic movements, it was difficult to keep the whitetail in focus. The dives were also rather amusing, since at times they involved maximum depths of 2 to 3 feet, with divers stepping on me as I was laid out horizontally below the lowest dive park stair. There were several baby Garibaldi in the same small depression as the whitetail. Its interactions with them were not always friendly. However, it seemed to find enough food and exhibited some growth, making it easier to film. The center of the whitetail Gregory's range is in the Religado Islands south of Cabo San Lucas. At the time of this discovery, the northernmost reported part of their geographic range was at Guadalupe Island, some 300 miles south of Catalina. Although this species is strongly reef-associated, like many other members of the damselfish family, once hatched, its larvae are planktonic and able to drift in the currents. Thus, its appearance here is undoubtedly an example of natural dispersal and range extension rather than the appearance of an exotic species. After a series of storms in December, the little whitetail disappeared. At the time, I feared it may have been eaten by a predator or killed in the turbulent storm waters. Then, nearly 3 years later, on August 2, 2015, I was diving in the park and located a whitetail gregory around a rocky outcropping some distance from the park's entry stairs. Although it had the diagnostic yellow-tipped pectoral fins and the white band around the base of the tail, this individual appeared to be a subadult based on the bluish edges to several of its fins. I was able to revisit the rocky outcropping where I first discovered the whitetail a number of times. Often it was right there flitting around or feeding. Sometimes it took a few minutes before it reappeared, and I discovered that it seemed to range over a territory of about 4 to 5 meters square. The outcropping that formed the center of its territory was in 20 to 25 feet of water, depending on the tide, which permitted long periods of observation and filming in the shallow water. I did a fair bit of night diving between August and November, but never saw this fish then. I believe it may have been sheltering in the nooks and crannies of the breakwater. Assuming this was the same individual we discovered back in 2012, it is obvious from its size that it has found sufficient food to nourish it. Following dispersal to a new location, this is the next step in expanding a species' range. It must be able to survive the variation in temperature and other environmental parameters through the course of a full year and find suitable munchies to ensure its ecological establishment. It has survived now for 3 years, although the period has been mostly characterized by warmer than normal water temperatures. I've referred to this fish as the lonely damsel because it is failing in the final stage of extending its range, reproduction. It is the only whitetail I have observed in the dive park during this time. Renzo Sampson, port captain of the Island Company's tour boats, has observed at least 2 adult or subadult whitetail gregories in nearby Lover's Cove. Due to their strong association with a specific reef and the intervening deep water between these 2 sites, it is unlikely our lonely damsel will encounter a suitable mate. However, there may be hope for the 2 or 3 individuals seen in Lover's Cove. Since this initial sighting of Stegastes leucorus, there have been other records of them in Southern California. Becky Morrow at Howland's Landing sent me a picture of a juvenile taken by Chris Evelyn out there on the island's west end, many miles from Avalon. Several divers, including John Moore, Jovan Shepard, and Mark Pidco, have filmed them in the waters off San Diego. They are also known from the Coronado Islands just south of the Mexican border, so the leap may not have been as drastic as from Guadalupe to Catalina. The past 2 years have been ones of much higher than normal water temperatures in Southern California, especially on the protected leeward coast of Catalina Island. Sadly, the warm water conditions have also allowed the invasive Asian seaweed, Sargassum horneri, to completely dominate much of our island's subtidal waters. In fact, several times recently, I have tried to locate the white-tailed damsel, but had trouble even finding the rocky outcropping it lives by. The warm waters have also allowed a number of more southerly species to enter our region. These have included the plain cardinalfish, BARSPOT cardinalfish, 3-banded butterflyfish, balloonfish, reef CORNETFISH, rough-bar frogfish, Pacific seahorse, star-studded grouper, Cortez angelfish, big-scale goatfish, long-nosed puffer, rainbow chub, gaff topsail pompano, and others. Although it appears these visitors have found food, it remains to be seen whether they can survive our more normal, cooler temperatures and be able to reproduce here. Over my nearly 50 years of diving Catalina waters, several southern species have not only established themselves here ecologically, but have also been able to reproduce in our waters. The fine-scale triggerfish has been in Lover's Cove near Avalon for several decades now. Crew on the glass-bottom boats that operate in that cove have reported seeing juveniles a number of times. The scythe butterflyfish also has been known in Catalina waters for decades. I have observed and filmed young individuals at the Empire Landing Quarry over the years. This species is also colonizing new sites on Catalina's leeward and windward coasts, indicating the population is expanding either by reproduction or additional recruitment during warm water periods. I have also observed and filmed both Guadalupe and plain cardinalfish in Catalina waters. They are often more readily observed when they come out at night to feed in open water. During such periods, I have observed a number of individuals mouth-brooding their eggs. Here, one ejects the egg mass from its mouth, apparently to reposition it. Very young cardinalfish have also been seen in recent years. Studies of the geographic affinities of fish in California waters have indicated that over time, the fish species composition is becoming increasingly southern in origin as northern species migrate into colder waters further north, and southern species extend their range further into our state waters. This has also been demonstrated through intertidal studies of invertebrates in the Monterey region using transect lines initially studied back in the 1930s and resurveyed in the early 1990s. Global climate change is a reality, and the trend in California appears to be warmer water temperatures. As this process continues, it is highly likely that more southern species will extend their ranges into our region. The warmer waters may also allow more of these visitors to become ecologically and reproductively established here.